Well, for the past 14 years, listeners have dialed in to hear DMac on The Fan, talking sports every afternoon. Yesterday, though, 104.3 shook things up. And among other things, well, DMac was done. One of the most popular voices in Denver radio, suddenly gone. Well, Darren McKee is here today to talk about what happened, what's next, and since you don't have a show to talk about it, I want to ask you about the Broncos, too.
First of all, I want to say it's patently unfair that I have to sit next to you. I want to go on protest that somebody who is clearly not aged a day and is maybe 117 years old still gets to do this. So I'm filing a visual protest with the officials. But I'm happy to be here.
I miss my radio days. Listeners were surprised to see this shakeup this week. I imagine for you, we've been seeing you on Twitter today talking about your unwanted days off, but you have some time off now. What are you going to do now? What's next for you as far as you know?
I have zero intentions, of leaving Denver and not doing what I've been doing. Zero. I'm going to get back to that as soon as possible. It's been a fascinating 24 hours. There's a lot of things going on I can't talk about.
Right.
But no, I'm here. I'm like a cockroach of Denver sports. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, you'll turn up or down the dial sometime soon, hopefully. I know that's what you want to do. You weren't alone, though. It was a pretty big day in Denver radio yesterday with Nate Jackson and Chad Brown and Orlando Franklin also let go, and Josh Dover flipping up and down the dial himself.
It happens in broadcasting every now and then. I know you've been part of it. There's very few people in broadcasting that haven't. You're never really quite prepared for it. There's really, really good people involved here. What didn't happen in the past, and Tom, I've been fired now 10 times. So we're at a number of 10 for this accomplishment in my career, 37 years. And
might be a record.
I'm working on it. You know, that being said, what I think is amazing with digital media that we have now and social media, I didn't have this type of response the last time. And what I've felt from listeners and viewers, as it's more visual than ever, is overwhelming.
And your son. Some of the posts I've seen you, when he wrote what he wrote today about that, it got to you.
Well, my son Connor's 23 years old. I couldn't be prouder of him. He lives in downtown Denver. He works near Union Station. And see, Tom, it's a Barbara Walters moment right here.
Oh, sorry,
to have your son tell you he's the man he is because of you, I didn't expect that. He's an amazing, and I have another son too. But like Dion says, I'm ranking kids. And my guy Connor gets a little higher rank. My son's Dylan response to it was tinged with profanity. Oh. So we'll leave that alone. But if you haven't seen it, you go on Twitter and see it. What Connor wrote to me meant a ton. It's a good question, Tom.
No, it was great. It was great to read, and because I know one thing about listening to people on the radio is you become attached to them. They become part of your family, and you have a lot of those listeners now who expect every afternoon to hear you, whether they like or disagree with what you're saying or whatever. So you have a little format here that you don't have anymore. The Broncos are in trouble. Where do you start with that?
Well, we're just talking some sports, which is awesome. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised if something turns around here quickly. The Broncos are going through, it's like a relationship, and they're getting to know each other. And when you get to know each other, there's some bumps in the road sometimes. I actually do believe this sounds crazy, but I think they're about to turn a corner. And let's not forget, Tom, I'm going to give you some history. The Broncos were 1-4, and they benched Kyle Orton. Tim Tebow got the start. Do you know who they played?
I remember it was in Miami, the great comeback.
It was in Miami. They're down by 15 points with 3 left. Darren Fells gets a touchdown, and the Broncos come back and win. Good memory on that. And that sparked, kind of all that Tebow mania. The Dolphins will be looking past the Broncos. I think there's some things they obviously got to figure out. But I do think there's a possibility of it. I just wouldn't throw it in the trash can. And I actually have a little bit more faith than a lot of people right now. Now, can they get to the playoffs this year? Is it going to be that kind of run? Probably not. But you do have to exercise a bit of patience with this. And you do got to let time and Sean Payton with Russell Wilson, play itself out. I wouldn't be so down on them right now.
Normally, I'd open up the phone lines now, but we don't have time. It's great to see you. You know I'm in your corner. I'm looking forward to your next step. It's going to be great to see you when you're back on top.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Should we do some weather?
Kathy will do that for us.
Okay.
We can relax over here.
All right, fine.
Darren McKee, thanks for joining us.